Good morning. Welcome to 365 Days of Amazing Stories with Theo Mayer. Here we are on day 169, and I'm continuing the story of Ali Baba and the 40 thieves. The captain had opened the door with open sesame. All his men went in, he went in, and once they were all inside, the door closed. Now, Ali Baba, he was afraid to come down out of that tree. He thought, if I come down and that door opens and they see me, I'm caught. So he waited in that tree. He didn't have to wait long, and he enjoyed his wait, because it was Ali Baba, a man of the woods, a man who loved to spend time in nature. He was in a big enough tree that the smooth bark of the branches held him sweetly in their embrace. Eventually, the door opened again, and all the men came out. The captain was the first out, and he watched as each man came out. And then once they did, the door closed. Now, when it closed on his command. Close, sesame. The men all mounted their horses and off they rode. Now, Ali Baba, eventually when he saw that they had ridden far enough away, came down out of the tree, and he wondered, as all of us would, what could be behind that door? He went over to it and he tried what he had heard. Open sesame. Now, he expected once that door opened to see some dark cavern and, who knew what, but when it opened, it was light-filled. For high up in that vaulted room, there was an opening which allowed sunlight to come through a hole. But Ali Baba was more surprised by what he saw before him than the light that came in through that opening. There was gold treasure. There was brocades of silk, tapestries, rich, rich ornaments, gold coins, chestfuls, such wealth that he had never seen anything like it before. He thought to himself, this is, obviously stolen treasure, because the men had looked seriously like robbers. Now, he quickly filled his little pouch that he had over his shoulder. He filled it with gold. This is what he usually carried. A small vessel of water. It was actually the skin of an animal, the stomach of an animal that had been converted into a water vessel. And he carried some food with him as well, a snack on as he was out working wood. It wasn't a big bundle, but it was big enough. And once filled with gold, it weighed a lot. We took this out and he put it on one of his animals and gathered up the wood that he had already cut and put it over the top, and then went back to his home. He unloaded the wood in his yard. People came to buy the wood. His wife sold the wood through the day. After unloading the wood, he quickly went inside and shared with his wife what he had gained. She was amazed. He told her everything. She was happily surprised. It was so much gold that they wished to measure it in order to figure out how much worth they had. So she thought, I will borrow tomorrow a measure, a scale, so I can measure how much gold we have. Now, Ali Baba thought this a great idea. And he, of course, went back to cutting wood that next day, while she went too. the house of his brothers, Qasim, to borrow a scale. Qasim's wife was there and greeted Ali Baba's wife generously. And of course, she could borrow the measure. Now, Qasim's wife was curious as to what she was measuring, so she put a little bit of suet in at the bottom of one of the scales off. Ali Baba's wife went with this scale, not knowing. She measured numerous times the amount of gold they had and was startled by how much it was. Ali Baba returned. By this time, she had already returned the scale to Qasim's wife. And of course, unbeknownst to Ali Baba's wife, there was a gold piece that was stuck to that bit of suet that Qasim's wife had put on the scale. Oh, and she saw it. Her eyes opened wide. What is this? When Qasim came home, she shared what she had discovered. It seems, she said, your poor brother is not so poor. In fact, it seems he has so much gold that he measures it rather than counts it. Well, Qasim was, of course, very interested in. After a night of rest, he got up in the morning and immediately went to Ali Baba's before they had even had their morning coffee. And the encounter I will share with you in the next episode of Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves.